Welcome to the ManTFUp podcast. I'm KimmyB.
And Lenny.
Welcome back to the Man Cave, folks. It's been an intense few weeks. I would say it's been a kind of intense second season, Len.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good. Yes, we've battled a little bit, but I think overall, I think we've maybe moved each other in a direction or two towards the middle.
And we're always here the next week. So that's a really
That's
great
a good sign.
you know what I mean? About, I don't necessarily say meeting in the middle, but at least finding ourselves back in another conversation, which is more than a lot of folks in this country can say, between deleting, Facebook profiles and blocking people and literally disowning family members and friends that probably have had similar battles to what we've had. In fact, I saw a comment on one of our clips on TikTok, I think from last week. I don't know if you saw it. And a woman said, the fact that this reminds me of the conversations I have with my dad is just, I don't know if she said it's making me feel all warm and fuzzy. Whatever it was something. And I was like, oh, so you can completely relate. And she was like, yes, it can be hair pulling, nerve rattling, whatever. But, she said she's made some ground, with her dad. And I'm not saying that you're the dad in this whole narrative, but it was just made me laugh that somebody's watching it and going, I totally understand where the passion from both sides is coming from. I totally understand how frustrating it can be. And I love the fact that they're sitting on that couch and they're working it out, or at least, giving each other the opportunity to say what they need to say.
Yeah, clearly we're both out of our minds and we enjoy to be tortured.
Yeah, people I love when people critique, the delivery, and I'm like, we do this every week. They see a clip and, me, hands flying, I get loud. I'm like, no, I'm just loud. Yeah. Like, if you think just because you're yelling, you're winning, I'm like, it's not about winning. I'm just a loud person. And I wish more people understood that level of passion for certain topics. And I think that speaks more to, how much I think both of us care about this country and care about democracy and care about our fellow Americans and our community, right? If you didn't care, you'd sit back and be like, fuck it.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I mean? And I think that we get, I don't want to say enraged, but you get, flustered and frustrated when something is so important to you and you feel like you're not getting through it. Because I think that you want to get through, I want to get through, and that's not just in this room, because I think that when we talk about why you even wanted to do this in the first place, it really is about bringing people together. As much as we yell, it's about getting through. And getting through doesn't mean you all of a sudden jump to quote unquote my side, or you agree with me, right? It's that we can hear each other out and either respectfully agree to disagree, but are now both armed with more information on both sides of the spectrum, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of pointing it. And the fact that we're here and we're friends.
Yeah.
36 episodes in.
I love Lenny. I really do. Sometimes I question why I put myself through these conversations, not just once a week with you, but also every day with the other individual that I work with. Shout out to DJ Laz. But I love it because I actually, I respect how firmly you stand in certain things that you believe in. And I think that's the same way that you feel about me. I'm not just going to back down or kowtow because I respect you and you feel strongly about something. So, okay, that must be right. I think that we're both going to fight for our points. But I did come in today and I did want to talk to you a little bit about something that I keep seeing in the comments, especially on TikTok. And just before I go any further, remember, like, subscribe, share, follow, and please follow us on TikTok in particular, because we seem to get a lot of really, really good commentary and engagement there. Also on our YouTube page now, especially with the shorts. I know people, are busy and their attention span isn't necessarily super extensive. Thanks a lot, social media. So we do put a lot of the clips on the YouTube shorts now as well. And we get some really good kind of commentary going on there. But as of late, the TikTok has been popping.
Yes.
Poppin'. Appreciate the comments. 9 times out of 10, if it's ManTFupTV commenting on your comment, it's Lenny.
It's me.
And I comment as myself, KimmyB official.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've seen chats go from having 2 comments, having 34 or 40, and I'm here for it. And I go back and I check again. But one of the things, and I said it in the very first episode, and I know we've touched on it multiple times over the course of now almost a year, it's that all or nothing, always, never narrative, right? That oftentimes is what leads us into these places where everybody feels backed into their corner. And it seems to be something that is popping up again, you know, in the comments. And even when I see the folks that are watching, I don't want to say fighting, but arguing their points back and forth, right? And it happened in a clip from a couple weeks ago. You were talking about your daughter, and you were saying how she had a little bit of a meltdown or a major meltdown when you took her phone away or something like that.
Yeah.
And you made a comment about, you know, 16-year-old girls cannot make rational decisions. And in the background, which I can't even believe they heard because I was sitting back and I was just like, you can't say that, Len. And you were like, and not that you backtracked, but you were like, not 16-year-old boys either, 16-year-olds, you know, in general. But the way the way the clip got edited, it sounds like I was telling you not to say that. And so it was funny because I kept making the point, especially on YouTube in the comments. I wasn't saying you can't say that. Of course, he's a grown-ass man. He could say whatever he wants. What I was saying is don't generalize. Like, the generalizations seem to be what continue to push people further and further and further in opposite directions. And I say that because people hate being lumped in with others. People hate being told that
everybody wants individuality. But, you know, in certain instances, I think you can lump kids together because, you know, they're all going through puberty. They're all getting pimples. They're all going through hormonal changes in their life. Every teenager.
Listen, I don't
That's
want
a
to have
fact.
a kid conversation just because I am not a parent.
I feel you.
I was
but
a child.
That was the generalization.
It was. And there are also 16-year-olds that are literally taking care of entire families, that are working jobs, going to high school, putting themselves in dual enrollment,
Absolutely.
running households. So to say every child can't make a rational decision, and it wasn't really that. That wasn't even the gist of what you were trying to say. So let's not double down on that and be like they're just walking around completely irrational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because that's not the fact. That's not the truth. Do 16-year-olds make irrational decisions? Of course they do. Do whole grown-ass people make irrational decisions? Of course they do. You know, I saw people leaving like medical commentaries in the comment section. The frontal cortex of your brain does not develop. And I'm like, I know all of this. That wasn't what I was saying. All I was saying was don't just over-exaggerate or embellish or generalize. And it wasn't even necessarily just about that comment in particular. It's across the board. We have to be careful with that. You know, it's the same thing when I say, and I use this as an example all the time because it's one where I get hit, BLM. If I say that I support, you know, social justice reform, if I support Black Lives Matter, whether that's the organization or just the movement under a much broader, that does not automatically mean that I am anti-law enforcement, right? But many people have decided that that is what it is, and there's no in between. There's no way you can possibly support BLM and also be a proponent for law enforcement. And to me, that makes no sense. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I can...
Yes, because everybody picks a subject. And I don't want to get into that subject because they've already proven that the people who did that are scamming. But, you know, it's all right. It's been proven.
It's not just one. Oh, my God.
Whatever. But the point is.
No, you don't just get to, like, levy false claims out there. And then now
what are the false claims?
That they're scamming
are the false claims
the board?
Are the false claims that the people who started it didn't divert the money for personal use? Is that a false claim? The people who started the movement diverted the money.
Not all of it. Not by even a stretch of the imagination. And really, you want to start talking about nonprofits?
I don't even want to talk about that. But
thank you. So don't just throw things out there and try to tarnish something. And I said,
tarnish what?
Because
it's not tarnishing.
You're a part of the problem because I wasn't even talking about the fucking organization, Len. And I said that. Just can you listen when I say something? I said not even talking about the organization. I'm talking about the movement in general, and that is part of the problem. Everybody that supports BLM, it's not about an organization. organization. It's about a movement. It's about fighting for social justice. It's about fighting for justice reform. That's all that's about.
Yes,
so
I know.
Again, no. Then why did you bring up the organization and
Because
made it about them?
Because you use the organization
no,
as
I
an
didn't.
example.
You don't listen to me. You don't listen, and people have pointed that out numerous times in the comments. Like, I didn't say that. I specifically said, Len, not even talking about the organization, talking about when I say BLM and I'm talking about supporting the movement. I made that differentiation for people like you who want to just swoop on in, and that's part of the problem. You hear that and automatically go, oh, it's about this organization. No, it's a movement much bigger than an organization, and all I was saying is just because I support the movement doesn't mean I don't support law enforcement.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. And, you know, nowadays people don't look at what they have in common. They look at what they have not in common. Or they don't look at, you know, I mean, we like food. We like restaurants. We have a lot of stuff in common, even though we don't believe necessarily in the same things in the same way. Mm-hmm. Because I think on a lot of points, we believe in the same things, just how it's being gone about might be different.
Or, you know, prioritization.
Yeah, or, you know, I just, you know, I don't want to get into it. But you understand what I'm saying with the...
No, I don't understand what you're saying.
What I'm saying is people pick one thing and they go heavy in the paint on that one thing. Mm-hmm. No matter what the rest of it is, no matter what the movement is, yes, social justice, great. We need social reform. We understand that. It starts all the way at the bottom. It's got to go all the way to the top. I get it, okay? But people don't look at the big picture. They look at the one
thing. But you're saying they, and you're sitting across from somebody who is looking at the big picture, and that's the problem, is that in your mentality, in your mindset, and that's what we have to stop doing. You have to take people at face value and then ask them.
But where does the big picture start and where does it end? Where does it start? Where is your starting point on the big picture, and where has it gone to? Yeah, it's like, Kimmy, it's very hard to you know, everybody's got their thing that pushes them over the edge. Everybody's got their thing that bothers them or that they want to see changed. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got it. But everybody's big picture is not the same. Mm-hmm. And everybody's direction to getting to that big picture is not the same. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes America America. Everybody's got an opinion.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's allowed to have that opinion.
Exactly. But, you know, if you're going to allow those opinions to separate who you talk to, who you hang out with, who your friends are, I mean, it's like, you know, it's building a wall on two sides.
But you don't feel that you're guilty of doing that? All or nothing narrative or always or never narrative?
Maybe somewhat. Maybe somewhat. Again,
you say all the time.
I think all lives matter. That's just the way I think. I think we all bleed red. It's just the way it is. That's the way I feel.
Never said anything opposed to that, though, right?
No, I understand, Kimmy, but you know, it's the way it's approached. You know, I mean, look how hard everybody went in on Kanye for wearing that shirt. Oh my God! I mean, just look at it.
Not the hill you want to die on, bro.
It doesn't matter. The point is that we're all fighting over what? Over what? Nobody. You know, I had this conversation at lunch today about just do it. You know, everybody wants to complain. Everybody wants to this. We need to do that. We need to do this. We need to do that. I don't see people stepping out and doing it. I don't see people, you know, coming out of the woodwork to make a stand. The people in the middle don't have a voice because they don't want to fucking talk, okay? The people in the middle are standing by while shit happens, okay? Because they don't want to talk, okay? There is middle ground. There is progress. There has been progress. The country is continuing to evolve. But the extremists want to take it to here, and the people who are in the middle, which I would say is the majority of this country, won't fucking speak up about it. Won't, because they're scared. They're scared. I heard a fucking thing.
But you and I, so let me ask you a question. So are you labeling yourself an extremist or myself an extremist? Because I know I'm speaking up about it.
I don't know what I'm labeling either of us, okay? I speak my mind. I kind of look at what's going on. I try and make common sense of things
to you, though,
that are happening.
And that's
I mean, common sense, I guess, is not really common sense anymore.
But your decisions make sense to you, and other people's decisions can make sense.
Decisions are a good way to put it out. Yeah, I decided to be nice to everyone. I decided
nice to everyone.
No, I'm a dick and I'm an asshole. But that's besides the point, Kimmy. I decided to treat everyone that comes into my life exactly the fucking same, okay? I'm not an asshole to you if I'm not an asshole to you, okay? And that's just the way I feel. So am I making a proactive choice
to be an asshole?
To be uniform, to accept, to, it's clear.
I love this conversation.
But it's clear.
I'm a dick, and I'm going to be a dick to everybody. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your sexuality is.
I don't give two shits. It is what it is. I'm not, you have the same opportunity in front of me that anyone who's sitting there does. Clearly. So that's my proactive choice. So does that make me hard right? Does it make me hard right that I want to keep my guns? Does it make me hard right that I feel like our country is getting fucking stolen while we're fighting over some bullshit? Yeah. That makes me hard right. That makes me hard right.
But again, like when you say that, though, like that's a sweeping, again, it's just a generalization that we're fighting over some bullshit. When it comes to people that are in that fight, though, like, you won't ever understand because it's not your fight.
No.
You don't care enough about those people to want to stand in solidarity with them, to fight alongside them. And that's the problem. When you say that it's bullshit and you're talking about people's right to true equality or just human rights, their right to love people, their right to equal opportunity, their right to health care.
But isn't that a lot of that? Isn't that a lot of it based on that person's interpretation of things? I mean, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, fine. Today, what rights do I have that you don't? What rights do I have that you don't?
As a woman?
What rights do I have as an American that you do not? What opportunities do I have that you do not? Name one.
Well, for me, I would say we're pretty on par. But
what opportunity do I have?
Listen to me, though. You're speaking to another.
What opportunity do I have?
White female. Period.
What opportunities do I have?
You don't have any other. I'm a white woman. I'm a white woman. So you're a white man. We got the same opportunity, sure.
I don't believe in that, Kimmy. I don't believe in that. I don't believe
Len, that coming from a white man doesn't really hold the same weight as coming from somebody else. Sorry, and I know that really bothers you.
No, listen. But tell me. I mean, give me a list of what opportunities. Give me a list of opportunities what other ethnic groups in this country do not have. Opportunities. One list. Give me one list of rights that other people in this country do not have.
I mean, the LGBTQ is like that. You're just gonna.
I'm not. Let's stay off of the LGBTQ.
No, but that's every ethnicity. That's every ethnicity right there. Like under the. So I mean, that's an entire community. So unfortunately, no, we don't have full equal rights. And then on top of that, if you want to talk about what the law says, I mean, I don't know. Are there still laws in this country?
Opportunities. What opportunities? Let's just go to
Lenny,
opportunities. Do people? Is there somebody that's keeping people from being successful?
You say it every week. You talk about the one percenters sitting up there pulling the puppet string. So I mean, that's apparently keeping all of us from being successful.
Well,
so I mean, you can't have the argument both ways. But listen to me. Stop asking me this question. To your point from last week when you decided to yell and scream at me, again, you're asking a white woman, and I could sit here and I could project and I could tell you stories that I know from people that I'm very close to.
Do you feel guilty that you're a white woman?
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean,
but I feel like it's my obligation to speak up and to fight for other people to have the same privileges that I wake up with every single day. Like, it is what it is. I'll never
name some of those privileges that you wake up with every day that that other ethnicities do not have? What are the privileges that you have?
Being white.
That's not a privilege, Kimmy.
It is.
That's not a privilege.
It really is. I promise you
that's not a privilege. We're all fucking Americans, and if you want to be a fucking American,
my man,
that's it.
I literally just, and I told you this when I walked in, and so now I'm going to take it there. I just finished watching a documentary. It's called 38 in the Garden. It's about Jeremy Lin, a basketball player, Linsanity. Any of my sports people watching will know probably who I'm talking about. And it was so moving. I was in tears by the end of it because, you know, they sat down with a lot of Asian Americans, people who were born in this country, who are citizens. And, you know, at the end, they were just talking about how important it was to see this young man go out there and do the things that he did because, you know, the stereotypes are harmful. The narrative spun around this particular community can be limiting, you know, and to see him go out there in beast mode and put 38 up on Kobe and the Lakers coming off a championship was just wild. And he came out of nowhere, Harvard kid. So, I mean, when we talk about stereotypes, you know, MIT and Harvard were his two choices. And he went to Harvard because it was D1, engineering program, clearly graduated, you know, top of his class. Mom wanted him to be like a concert pianist. Dad he said, thankfully loved basketball, right? Probably from being here in this great country of ours. And luckily he had a gift at both, but mom finally said, you know what, I'm going to go let you go play basketball. And, you know, 9 years later in the NBA, like he had 9 years, he made $65 million to speak to opportunity, you know, and I believe he's playing actually in China now or something. But watching these people talk about what it meant to them. And one of them sat there and looked down in the camera and said, you know, growing up, all I wanted to do was be American. He said, all I wanted to do was be like you. And he said, not judged on the color of my skin and not judged by the shape of my eyes and not automatically being seen as an other. And that's what makes me sad is that, unfortunately, we talk a lot about being American. And I've said it to you, like, when I watch the Olympics, and I love watching the American team walk in because when you look at it, it's just so beautiful to see, right? Black, white, tan, brown, Asian people, men, women, people with hijabs, people with yarmulkes. Like, it doesn't matter, right? We really are so representative and diverse. But unfortunately, you know, on the world stage that presents one way, but when you're living in it every day, there are still communities. Like, look at what happened when COVID hit. You know, it was Kung Flu and it was that Wuhan, and they were yelling at anybody who had Asian eyes to go back to fucking China. Like, these are people who might have been here longer than the person yelling, go back to China. Yeah. You know what I mean? You see it in the Latin community here. Speak fucking English and whatever. And then you'll have some Latinos that are like, yo, speaking, you know, like, yeah. So that's an argument that they can have within their own. But as much as we talk about,
it's not an argument that a white person could have.
But
right, with a Latino.
What, telling them to speak English?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm not going to stop you from exercising your.
I'm just curious because I know a lot of Latinos, and I know a lot that have immigrated here, and the majority of the ones that are successful learned how to speak English.
And I mean,
isn't that
like there's a lot of really successful.
No, I know there's a lot
in Miami-Dade County.
Yeah, because they don't have to.
English. That's the point. You know what I'm saying?
But they don't have to. But
Italians
Kimmy,
did the same thing.
But yeah, Italians did the same thing.
And so did the Greeks.
Show me an Italian neighborhood right now that only speaks Italian.
That
you can't go in and order something unless you speak Italian.
Yeah, they're 4 or 5. I mean, they're multiple generations in, you know, and it's unfortunate because
I don't know. In Miami, the Cubans are here at least 4 generations.
Most of their kids speak English.
They're 4 generations.
But their kids have all acclimated for the most part.
But that's not the first language in Miami now. That's not the primary language.
That's because you have so many people.
English is not the primary language in South Florida.
They also never lost it, though, and we haven't had this
in
thing.
Miami.
If we lived in a community where you were seeing a heavy influx, I mean, and neither has the Asian community, and they've been immigrating for a very long time, too. But it's because when they get to where they're going, they tend to keep within themselves, right? Like if you go to San Francisco, massive Chinatown. If you go to Boston and New York, massive Chinatowns, right? And you will hear every dialect of Chinese, every dialect of Vietnamese being spoken, and they're able to maintain their culture. And that was something that you used to see back in the day. But also, I think you had the Italian immigrants. Obviously, Irish spoke English, the English, but Italians, they wanted their people to acclimate. The Greeks wanted their people to acclimate. So you had the language and your great-great-grandparents spoke it. But as the generations progressed, that got less and less, especially because there were less and less immigrants coming over.
So do you think that might be something that bothers people who are acclimated to the United States and to English being the first language. I mean, all of these things make up our country. Mm-hmm. And I don't give two shits if you don't speak English in Miami. I lived here my whole life. Mm-hmm. I've seen it all. It doesn't matter.
But you don't speak Spanish either, right?
No, I don't speak Spanish either. But this country, primary language is English. Mm-hmm. So, when you talk about things that offend people and why things stay the way they are and some things don't change, people get butthurt. There's a lot of Latin Americans, and there's a lot of even people who have come here first generation that are upset that people aren't taking on the beliefs or the language or the basics of the United States. Mm-hmm. That's important. It's important to bring up all of these things, Kimmy, because all of these things are what leads into this.
Well, the craziest, I've been around those communities. Like, I've spent time. There's a family here that started a massive furniture chain. It's called El Dorado, and it's the Capo family, and their story is incredible. And I've been at the grand openings of their stores, and they bring in a priest, and they do the national anthem, and they say the Pledge of Allegiance, and they talk about the incredible opportunity. I'm going to get emotional again that this country provided their family, and it's so beautiful to see that, right? And I got to see Arturo Sandoval, who's an incredible trumpet player, and he defected from Cuba. He was a musician under the communist regime, and he performed at the Adrian Arts Center, which is a performing arts center, obviously, in Miami, and he has a movie about his life. It's called For Love or Country. And so he was playing the soundtrack, which he scored live on the stage with a full orchestra while the movie was playing, right? And so it's literally, you're watching this film, and it's this man's life, and he's now sitting on this stage in a full auditorium, thousands of people in the United States of America, and it's about his struggle to get here, right? And he fell in love, and the woman that he loved worked for the regime and didn't want to leave, and it was like this whole thing, and they had to leave behind their family and their kids and in order to defect and get here. And we put them through the ringer, like the person that he did the interview with, and it was Dizzy Gillespie. He happened to have met Dizzy Gillespie in Cuba, and Dizzy Gillespie called the vice president of the United States because we weren't going to let him in. And he was like, do you understand I'm going to be killed? Like, it was a thing. Watch the movie, For Love or Country. It's incredible. But Dizzy made a call, and he got here, and, that's his thing. He was talking about, just everything happening. Hurricane Ian had just happened. He was talking about, wildfires and just all the madness, the shootings. And he decided to play, like, Amazing Grace. And it was beautiful, and he was just talking about how incredible this country is, and he's so grateful for every opportunity. And, so as much as we talk about immigrants and maybe there being some disconnect, again, there are so many people that are grateful for everything that America is.
Yes.
So we can't just broad.
How come the Americans aren't? How come the third and fourth generation Americans aren't as grateful for those opportunities? Because if there's people coming from other countries that see these opportunities and have seized these opportunities and have made these things overcoming overwhelming odds, why don't the third and fourth generation
that's me
Americans,
right? Like, I mean, I'm a third and fourth generation.
Feel the same way.
Like, I'm my great grandparents came here from.
I mean, when did the cup go from glass half full to glass half empty? Because that's how most people wake up in the morning, glass half empty.
Well, I think
the people that are complaining and coming in for us, and it's always someone else's fault.
Look, though, always and never. It's always.
Yeah.
It's always. You have an incredible team, though. So what are you talking about? You have people here who love this country that work in this office. So it's not always. You do have one big complainer.
No, but I was talking about the people who come in and make the comments and do all these things. I'm coming after both of us, for different things. It's like, oh, this person keeps me from doing this, and this person keeps me from doing that, and that keeps me from doing this. No, the only people that keep you from doing anything is you. It's you. Because I don't care, white, black, Asian, Spanish. Everyone has the same opportunity. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time.
Do you believe it in representation, though? Like, and I don't mean that. I don't mean it in a vague way. I mean, the importance of seeing people that look like you do the things that you aspire to do. Like, you've grown up seeing that. Like, businessmen, you've seen people that look like you do the things that you want to do. We sat here, you had Grant Cardone, right? Like, across from us. And I know that that's somebody that you admire the things that he's been able to accomplish in his life, right? And especially from the backstory. But you look similar, you know? And if you don't see that, sometimes you don't have that belief in yourself. So when we talk about opportunity, that's a part of opportunity. This country, for sure. And that, to your point, the Jeremy Lin story
that's a trained thing.
But Jeremy Lin is proof of both, though, Len. And so when we talk about the middle, what I'm going to say is, to your point, this young Asian man ended up beasting out on an NBA basketball court, putting up 38 points on arguably, you know, some will say the greatest basketball player of all time. Some will say the second greatest basketball player of all time, Kobe Bryant, right? So that's a testament to your point. Everybody has the opportunity. But what I'm saying is, on the flip side of that, right, in this great country of ours, being able to see yourself in that person is a game changer. So you're hearing the testimony. He believed in himself, right? He knew he had the capabilities to do it. He just had to find somebody to give him the opportunity, right? So sometimes it just takes one of those people. You know, you've had a lot of people in terms, you know, of being able to look and go, okay, that's success. And maybe you've seen it in people from different, you know, cultural backgrounds. Maybe you've seen it in people of different ethnicities or races. I don't know. But you've seen things and gone, hey, that guy either looks like me or that guy has a backstory like me. And I know that I can do whatever it is that they've done, and I can supersede that. And what these people were saying in this documentary is that he was that for them. But that happened in 2012. Do you know what I mean? So there are still people out there trying to see themselves doing the things that they in their heart want to do, but possibly feel limited to. So I'm not blaming that on our country, but it is a narrative. And so I think we have to understand that that's why representation is so important. And that's why I sit on this side of the couch and I fight for it all the time. And I try to explain why certain things do matter, whether it's of consequence to you or not. It's of consequence to, you know, people who are the other, people who are on the fringe. And that's, you know, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think you can do and be anything you want to be in this country. Really and truthfully, I've never said anything otherwise. So don't look at me smugly like that. As much as I love you, you're like,
I get it. You. I get it.
And as the other or the far left, how many times do I have to say I love America? But I can love America and still feel like it's got work to do. Do you know what I mean? I can love America and still criticize, you know, certain aspects of the American way, right?
Yeah,
I can say, hey, we've made mistakes along the way and there's some things that we need to fix.
That's absolute. But like I said, more action by the people and different ways of going about it, you know? I mean, I just... Again, we can't really have this conversation fairly without having
representation.
People who feel like, you know, that you know, are different ethnicities.
But Lenny, why can't you how come you don't ever acknowledge that?
Acknowledge what? That people need role models that are Black or Latin or
that maybe their experience is different than yours.
But is the difference the difference that they're seeing cultural? Is it from their community? Is it from their upbringing? Or is it from someone putting their foot on them? You know, I don't see that. I don't see it.
But how would you see it if you don't live it? Like, if you know what I mean? Like when, have you ever done one of those games? Like, they do them on social media and it'll be like, okay, put your 10 fingers up. And every time this thing has happened to you, put a finger down, right? And it's like, if you're a woman, you're not a woman. So you've probably never been sexually harassed. And maybe you have. Maybe you feel that I harass you sometimes. I don't know. But like, again, it's not a game, but if you do this, what is that, exercise, right? You'll be like, oh my God. You know, or you might listen and have all your fingers and be like, wow, I'm lucky. That's never happened to me. I've never been in a quote unquote Me Too situation or whatever. You can't speak to being a woman because you're not a woman. You can't speak to being Black because you're not Black. You can't speak to being gay because you're not gay.
But I get it. I get it.
But then how come you won't, I've never heard you formulate the words where you acknowledge, you know what, like,
yes,
you stand,
I
you
have
are
acknowledged.
hard, fast.
Everybody has their struggles. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
Okay.
But why can't you acknowledge the fact that I might have had trouble?
I know you have.
I might have had a bad upbringing. I might have had this. I might have went through the same fucking struggles that other people went through, except I didn't. I don't have the opportunity to blame it on the language I speak or anything else.
The color of your skin that you can't change. That you can't change. I just told you the Jeremy Lin thing was, I just want to be American. These kids were born in America, and I just want to be seen as American. I can't change the color of my skin. I can't change the shape of my eyes. Being white every day, especially in this country and in a lot of places. It's not just the United States of America. So let me be very clear in saying that, right? Like, there's a lot of places where society, where success, where culture is based or predicated on some sort of system, right? That isn't quote unquote fair. You have the caste system in India, which is very similar to a skin tone system. And unfortunately, you know, people in the North who tend to be lighter because they're more industrial and indoor versus the people in the South. Italy's no different. The Italians in Northern Italy, 1,000% turn their nose up towards the Southern Italians, and they all turn their nose up towards the Sicilians, right? So everybody's looking for a play. Everybody's looking for a leg up. And in this country, I think that sometimes, you know, when push comes to shove and you feel like you're at the bottom of the barrel and you're just looking for something that's going to give you a leg up, when you're white, you turn to your skin color. It's a little bit of a, you know, it's a privilege. Waking up white, no matter how bad your circumstances are, is still not that. And waking up brown, like black, any of those things, and gay or gay. Like, it's just, it's a little, it softens the blow. It doesn't take it away. It doesn't take away from your struggle, but it's one little inch in front of the other people who had the same exact economic, like all the other boxes checked that you had. Do you know what I'm saying? I know you don't agree, but that's where I'm coming at with.
I get it. I just feel that in this country, everyone has an opportunity. Is it harder for some people? Yes. Can they overcome it? Mm-hmm. That's up to them.
Yeah.
That's up to them. And if there's certain communities that have that issue, that community needs to step up and fix those things that are keeping.
But again, difficult to do.
Keeping those barriers up.
Difficult to do without representation, whether that is representation in Congress, whether that's representation in your schools, whether that, you know, when you're talking about a community stepping up, if there's no one in the room to advocate on their behalf, then how do you change the situation? Grant Cardone sat in this chair right here, and we talked about what a difference maker it is to have somebody like that in the room with these 1%ers, with these folks that come from, you know, long lines of developers and everything else. Now you've got this guy, you know, I don't know, I know there's a name for it, but, you know, the person like the maverick in the room kind of deal. Like, how the hell did he get in here? But he's here.
Yeah.
He's here now, and let's go, right? So you need that representation for the Asian community. I'm going to go back and use Jeremy Lin because, like I said, I just watched the damn documentary. That was that to them, like this aggressiveness, this confidence, like all of these things that are so anti the stereotype, right? To see yourself in that is empowering. And that's dope. And so when we talk about it being in government, you know, I'm going to go back to government and how do you affect change in this country? I mean, I really do believe that it has to be a part of, you know, the democratic process. And I know you feel that shit is falling apart. So,
you know, it's a little scary, but it is what it is. It's, again, we're having this conversation over and over and over again, and there's things that are changing that are going to make none of this matter in 30, 40 years because we're not going to be a free country anymore. We've lost stacks of our rights.
That out?
I'm just saying.
Okay, but so if we've lost stacks of our rights, that's on both, like, it's on both sides.
It's on both sides, but you know what? Both sides can't talk to each other.
Well, but that's because...
So whatever's in the middle...
Can I tell you why, though? Because, so for me...
Is not getting bothered.
So for me, I understand that gun rights are very important to you, right? Mm-hmm. So I know when we're having that conversation, I can't just say that all gun lovers, and that's the beauty of knowing you, right? I know what a responsible gun owner you are. And I know that you're also, a constitutionalist. You believe in rights and you believe in your right to bear arms. And as a person who leans more to the left, obviously, I'm not out. When I say I'm not trying to take your guns, I'm really not trying to take your guns.
No, I feel you.
Do you know what I'm saying? I enjoy going to the shooting range. I'm going to probably be a gun owner at some point, when I finally fill out the paperwork, but I too will be a responsible gun owner. The problem is you've never heard me say what matters to you is inconsequential or is bullshit. You've said repeatedly on this couch that the things that I fight for, that the things that matter to me don't really matter in the big scheme of things. Do you know what I mean? And that's the part that keeps people from meeting in the middle.
Yeah, maybe. I think you're right, Kimmy. I think you're right. And I think I support you in whatever you want to fight for. That's your right. That's your right to fight, okay? Mm-hmm. My point is that it needs to stop being a fight, and everybody needs to take responsibility for their own situations, and change needs to come from everyone, not just from the people who are advocating for it or this or that, okay?
Mm-hmm. But
and I don't want to get deep into any kind of cultural things, but, you mentioned the Latin community in South Florida. Mm-hmm. They're pretty tight-knit. You mentioned the Chinese community in San Francisco. They're pretty tight-knit. Mm-hmm. Those communities govern themselves. They look out for each other. They look out for their community. There's some communities in this country where people don't look out for each other anymore.
Do you know why though? Wouldn't you say that's acclimation? Once you've become such an integral part of a society, right? You no longer feel that same responsibility for your people. Right? Because now you've kind of made it. We saw it in The freaking Godfather, and I hate to use movies as a reference point, but remember that was always Michael's big thing. He wanted to go legit. He didn't always want to have to be mafioso, right? He didn't always want to have to be a don, and that was how he was judging the...
First of all, he was lying to his wife, okay? That's why Michael wanted to go. In 10 years, the Corleone family is going to be legitimate.
Well,
who'd he tell that to? His fucking wife.
No, but he legitimately always wanted that. His father wanted him to be legit.
Yeah, his father wanted him to be a senator.
But that was the whole, that was proof that you had really become American, right? When you no longer had to do those things, when you were no longer the guinea, when you were no longer, because the reason why mafias were came here was because these people were like, shit, we have no opportunities. They were getting shit on, they were getting stepped on, they were getting bulldozed and all of those things.
The mafia rose in the United States, and it really ran roughshod over its own people.
Yeah.
It really, it was control. It was gang violence in their own community.
But to my point, once you've made it once they started acclimating, once you have money and you can, once you're, sorry, Grant Cardone, not that I'm calling it mafia, but once you're in the room, that changes your level of access. It changes the level of acceptance, right? And so then that starts to dissipate a little bit. And eventually, as the Italian-American community grew in standing and in stature and people assimilated and acclimated and made it in
what you're
ways.
saying is that other communities in this country don't have enough people who've been raised out of that community to start making change?
What I'm saying is I think once you become super American, you lose the responsibility just to your community. You're talking about particular immigrant groups that came in around the same time, right? The Greeks were very similar. What I'm saying is the Asian community still, they protect their culture. They're very much, that's a very big part of their culture, though, going back thousands of years. The Chinese are very proud of their history, as are the Japanese, as are, I'm sure, the Indian people and all of that. So that want and that yearning to hang on to your culture, they're cooking the meals, they're celebrating the holidays, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that you can have both. I think you can be American and you can still respect your culture and you can hold on to all of those things. Now, as far as policing yourselves, as far as fighting for your community, that's a different situation. And now, to your point, we're all Americans. So once you really become fully integrated into that, into America, now your fight becomes different. Now your fight becomes socioeconomic, as you like to say. Now your fight becomes about different things, because now you want the American dream at this point, right? Like now you live in Pembroke Pines, but maybe you want to live in Pinecrest. You know what I'm saying? So now you have different aspirations, or you're trying to get in with the Weston Country Club now. At this point, you're no longer worried about passing for American. I want the country club membership. So when we talk about these things, it's kind of like, how do you remind folks that we were all these people fighting for this level of acceptance at some point? We all come from families that wanted the same thing. How do you remind people of that when they're so far, to your point, removed from it?
It's difficult. It's difficult. This conversation went interesting.
No, it's still not 2 hours. No, but it started off, and we've said it a couple of times, the all or nothing, like the all or never. And I feel like that can be a very divisive thing. So if I can just suggest, when we're having conversations, I saw it in a lot of the education clips, when we're talking about teachers. Imagine being a teacher who all you want to do is protect students. All you want to do is educate. You love what you do. And you're constantly lumped in with this narrative that you're trying to, indoctrinate. Like, can you imagine what there's 3.5 million teachers in this country, right? K through 12, I think, like 3.5 million. And when you read these comments, you would think it's in every school. There are people out there, when they're having the conversation from, a super conservative, extreme, like super conservative point of view, all the schools, every teacher, pull them out, send them, you know what I mean? And then you have people like me who are sitting here going, listen, are there bad apples? There's bad apples everywhere. It's like me hating all law enforcement, right? You'll never, ever, ever hear me say that. Are there bad apples? Yes. Does there need to be substantial overhaul? For sure, right? But do I want an America without law enforcement? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In no way, shape, or form.
I want more.
Do you know what I mean? And by the way, there's this president, additional funding for law enforcement, in case people don't know this. So no defunding of the police is happening. You know what I mean? And when I hear people say that, I'm like, you sound insane. But again, somebody would love to put me in a box because I say things like, do I think we need some sort of reform? Yes. Oh, Blue Lives Matter. And I'm like, no shit, they do. Like, who you telling? Of course they matter. You know what I mean? So that's the frustrating place that we're at. And I would just like to see a little bit less of that. Before you all or never, always or never somebody, or all or nothing somebody, stop down and be clear. Like, okay, well, I saw a video of one particular teacher in one particular school one time saying this, right? Now, obviously, you're going to multiply that because, okay, if one teacher's doing it, others are. But is it the majority of our teachers? I don't think so. And they're under enough pressure as it is right now. Like, can you imagine for $40,000 a year having to deal with this bullshit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fuck you. I'm going to go be on TikTok.
It's just another way of undermining the system because people aren't going to want to be the teachers.
But again, I don't want to say to an intelligent person because I'm not trying to come for anybody's level of intelligence, but you're aware enough to look at it with some sort of perspective, right? Unfortunately, what we're seeing is most people are not. They are not going to take the time to do the research. Like, you sent me a clip. We're not going to get into it. You sent me a clip. And not only did I watch it and was I appreciative of the clip, we'll talk about it in the next episode, but then I went further, right? And I was like, who is this woman? And let me see more about her and what is happening here. And I even went into what she was talking about, with the whole Democrat-Republican thing, which is why I'm honestly trying not to even use parties when we have these conversations, because I think it's really more idealistic as opposed to a party thing, conservative versus liberal or whatever.
I want to make one more statement before we end this episode because we need to end it. This TikTok, social media crap scares the shit out of me, and I'll tell you why. I saw a video of how to remove a tattoo, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, they must have had a half a dozen chemicals.
Oh, God.
Like, but harmless chemicals. Let's just say Nair, olive oil, butter. Like, you got to put all this on your tattoo, all in order, and then the tattoo will come right off. Now, the scary part of that is, okay, people fucking believe.
How many views did it have?
They had a fucking shit ton. I think I saved it. But it's scary that people fucking believe that, okay? So, which leads me to believe that any fucking crazy shit that I see on social media, someone out there believes it. And it's not fact. Like I said, like you just said, I sent you the video. You did your research. You guys have these tools in your hand. Okay? These tools in your hand. Okay? Just like you're looking at social media, there's this thing called Google or Safari or any one of the search engines. Look up the person. Look up the information.
Or I'm sure there's encyclopedia.com too.
Do
Go to a library.
Research. Do the research. If you see 4 or 5 credible sources that tell you the same fucking thing, I give you permission to believe it. If it's some fucking wackadoo with a fucking tinfoil hat telling you to do something and you take that to heart, you're a fucking idiot. Period. That's just how I feel.
Even if it's Lenny wearing the tinfoil hat.
There you go.
And with that being said, Lenny has given us all permission to believe things once we have done our own research.
Yeah.
I guess that means even believing what Lenny says, but do your research for sure on anything you see Lenny say. Actually, you know what your research is for this show? Watch the whole damam podcast, please.
Yeah, we're making it a short one, so maybe you guys will get the fucking gist of it.
I'm just saying, because if you just watch our clips, you could be severely misled by some things. So please, if you're questioning something that I said or you're questioning something that Lenny said or going, there's got to be more to this, there probably is. Watch the episode. You can find it on YouTube. Again, you can follow us TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We are absolutely everywhere. You can download our podcast, listen to it when you're in the car, wherever you're at. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow. And comment, please. Clearly, we referenced numerous comments today. So we're definitely in the comments, definitely, reading and replying and responding and using some of them for future episodes. And yeah, I mean, we appreciate you guys, but no more all or never, always, never. I don't know. Just let's try to stay away from the extremes all the way around.
Yes. Feel free to have all or never for yourself.
Yeah.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
But you don't have to impose it on other people.
There you go. I like that, Len. We'll see you next time. It's the ManTFUp TV podcast.
Peace.